King. We
Yeah,
are live. Now I've got this thing running in the background that's going to start making noise at me. Okay. There. All right. Very good. So you can still hear me, right? Everything's working?
Yes. Oh, yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Well, hello, Sarah, again.
Hello.
You were on earlier, and we're going to have a little bit of reprise here because you've got to introduce yourself again and tell us who you are and what you do and all that kind of stuff. And Kate, you can also...
I certainly can, but since you're putting both videos up, won't people just watch the first one first and see my introduction then? Oh, well, no problem. I will run through it all again. First, let me introduce my daughter, Katie. She's 9, and she's wearing a fur coat for some reason.
It's cold.
Not here, it isn't. So, yes.
This is the ordinary temperature, but it's actually really cold.
Well, I'm glad you think it's cozy. Anyway, yes, this is one of my 2 children. I have a 12-year-old, Jamie, who would probably be a bit hyper for a video like this, so I got him off to sleep before it started. And I work as a GP, and I've been blogging for 11 years now. And when I first started out, it was basically doing mommy blogging type thing. I was just writing about my life, at the time a fairly new mother, and just writing about all my experiences. And every so often I'd see something that I would vehemently disagree with, have a strong opinion on, some bit of parenting advice or whatever, and I'd write a rant about that. Anyway, after many years of this, I also started writing an atheist blog, and then I saw the advertisement for new bloggers on the Free Thought Blogs blogging platform, and I applied, and last March I was offered a blog there, and I now have the blog Geeky Humanist. So that's my background, and I unfortunately don't get very much time to blog with everything else I have to do, but when I do blog, I like writing book reviews and just some other stuff. And I've just recently finished a series on, in fact not finished a series, sorry, still a work in progress, but I'm working through a series on how I initially became an atheist.
Very good. Yeah, one of the problems with this whole business is if you've got interesting things going on that could inspire you to blog, like kids and atheism and books, it turns out that you don't have time to actually blog about them.
Yes, that's kind of the problem.
Okay, so Geeky Humanist. Which shall we talk about first, the humanist part or the geeky part?
Take your pick. Well, the humanist part, I've counted myself as a humanist for many years, and humanism basically, in a nutshell, just means we don't believe that any sort of divine being is coming to sort the world out for us. That can cover atheism, agnosticism, could even cover deism, I suppose, but basically we don't believe that a God is coming to sort the world out for us, so we better try and sort it out ourselves. And it involves a commitment to social justice, to trying to make the world a better place, inspired by this belief that no divinity is going to sort it all out for us. And I wouldn't exactly say I converted to humanism. I just came across a description of humanism online one day and thought, aha, there is a term for what I am. And so there you go. And geeky, well, I've just always been into, fantasy type stuff, and looking at sort of interesting, obscure facts about things, and reading up on research papers, just, little things like that. And it seemed a good term for me.
I don't even know what that means.
Well, it's another word for nerdy, which you might have heard because you watch YouTube videos a lot. But it just means people like us who like reading all those interesting books about things and stuff. Kind of hard to describe, really. And doing a lot of computer type stuff. You do a lot of computer type stuff, so I think you're a geek in training, Boo. They call my daughter Boo.
It's genetic. Or something.
Well, we work on it. We want to bring our children up with good going geek values here.
Yeah.
Get our priorities right.
So are you a member of the BHA?
No, actually, I'm not. I never got around to joining them. At one point, they were going to try and start something up in our area, and I don't know if anything ever came of that. I don't think I've really had the time to get to meetings or whatever anyway. So it's something I see more as something I do a few years in the future when I can, actually do something about it other than just be on a mailing list somewhere.
Yeah, I was gonna say I know Andrew Copson, and he's a very good guy. He's a great activist, and he's a great humanist too. And I could probably hook you two up, and he could put you to work assembling. But if you don't even have time to attend, that's probably a bad idea.
Well, a few years down the line, children will be older. I'll get a bit more free time to do things. Well, so the theory goes, but yes, I have great plans for all the things I'll do once this one, the big brother, are off on their own a bit more. But not quite yet.
Yeah, I'm in that situation now. My kids have all grown up and moved out, and they all grew up to be good geeks.
There you go. You're doing something right, obviously.
Yes. Before they dispersed so much, we used to go to this science fiction and fantasy convention here in Minneapolis. It was kind of our family reunion. We would get together at Convergence, which is actually happening 2 weeks from now.
Sounds good.
I am not ready. But anyway, we would hang out there, and we all had something of interest to do there. This year, it's just going to be me and my oldest son who are going to go there. And I'm sitting on about 8 panels, I think it is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, so we're going to be... This one has a skeptics track, so I'm mainly going to be talking about science. They have a lot of stuff going on there.
Well, I've taken my family to the Terry Pratchett conventions a few times. We haven't done that for a few years, just, various reasons. They changed the venue. It was all a bit awkward. There was one where all the tickets sold in about 2 minutes of going online. We've got to start looking at buying them for the 2018 convention, I think. Katie, you just been, I think, just getting on for free last time we went to a convention. Can you remember it at all?
Well, I can remember, was it the Terry Pratchett one?
Yes, that would be the one.
Was it the one where I was, scared of a person in a death costume?
That's right, and then you became quite fascinated by death and kept... they had this character in this amazing death costume, just, put draped in a black cloak. They put the skull face up on top of his head, so he looked as though he was 7 feet tall with a skull face. Obviously, there was a person under there. And Katie, just... not quite 3 years old at the time, kept sort of staring at him and then running up to him and kind of poking him and running away again. And my husband looked at her and said, "Are you flirting with death, little one?"
Does she know about Susan?
No, Susan is Death's granddaughter in the books. She hasn't read the Terry Pratchett books yet. So that's in her future.
Why not?
She's a little bit young, but I think you are just getting about to that age, Boo. I've tried to persuade her to read some of the ones directed at children, but she decided no. She's more into, she reads Roald Dahl and the Mr. Gump books and David Walliams. I don't know if you have David Walliams over there, but he is a big favourite of Katie's.
Okay. Well, she can start on the Tiffany Aching books soon.
Oh yes, that would be exactly the right thing for you to start on, Boo. I think you would like Tiffany Aching.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So did you ever meet Pratchett?
I have been in the same room as him. I haven't spoken to him face to face. But
yeah, you're in England. We figure everybody in England knows Terry Pratchett.
has to meet Terry Pratchett. Well, yeah, we've been at the conventions. I've heard him speak. I've heard him read his books aloud, and I've been sort of walked past him in a room, but not spoken to him face to face.
Yeah, I've actually been kind of disappointed in the recent books, but I think they're written by his daughter now. Is that?
I haven't looked at the ones. I haven't looked into what his daughter's writing. And in fact, I actually haven't read the last one by Terry, the one that was published posthumously. I think it was called The Shepherdess's Crown. I've got that on my shelf, kind of saving it for a rainy day. I like feeling I've got one more to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what else do you read besides Pratchett? There must be other things.
All kinds of things. In fact, it's a long time since I've read a Pratchett book. I've recently been rereading some of Tamora Pierce's work, and in fact, I've got a blog post, one of many, in the works about that. Have you come across Tamora Pierce at all?
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I've read her stuff.
Oh, excellent. Right, for those who don't know her, hello, Mr. Big does not have to be pushing us out of the way, evil child, disrupting videos. Yes, isn't that who it is, Mr. Big? That go figure.
No,
anyway.
Mr. Big's the one around the world, and this is a different person.
Okay, fine. Whoever it
This
is
is like
does not
Lord
need
Business or something. Yeah,
Yes, all right, all right. I think we are getting sidetracked. Sorry. Several minutes later, Tamora Pierce, for those who don't know, is a young adult feminist fantasy author. And she writes what's called high fantasy, which means books set in alternative worlds rather than in this world. You know, the whole magic, knights,
elves, goblins, yeah.
I don't have elves or goblins. I was going to say going off to say dragons, but in fact, no, one of the heroines actually makes friends with the dragons. So, you know, her magic all revolves around animals. Certainly no one's going to be slaying any dragons when she's around, thank you. But yes, I've just been reading her Protector of the Small series, which is the third one she wrote set in the same world. And it's about a girl who's training to be a knight in a very patriarchal, feudal type society where, you know, they've got strong ideas about how only men are meant to be knights. So it's about this girl and how she has to deal with all this prejudice against her and prove herself. And it's a very, very good series. And what else? Lots of other fantasy. Patricia Briggs. Have you ever read Patricia Briggs? Oh, yeah, fantastic, fantastic. Okay,
yes, I'm a first-class geek. I'm sorry.
Yes, this is awesome. You're probably absolutely outshine me in the world of geekery. I am aware of being very much an amateur here, but I do my humble best. Anyway, Patricia Briggs, she writes what's called urban fantasy, which is when you've got fantasy novels set in this world, where you've got you know, this whole underground society of werewolves, vampires, fae, witches, and the rest of the world doesn't know about all of this, and you know, it is in fact in the early books sort of gradually learning about the existence of all these supernatural beings who are kind of in the process of coming out to the rest of the world, which is part of the plot. And the heroine is Walker, which means that she's of Native American descent, and she has the ability to turn into a coyote. And you know, it's in terms of the kinds of powers you have in this, that people have in this world, it's a fairly small superpower, and she tries to lie low and keep out of trouble because she knows most of the beings around are more powerful than her, but she's involved with this world, and she just ends up becoming more and more part of it for various reasons. So again, wonderful series, would recommend it to anyone. The Mercy Thompson series, it's called, starts with Moon Called. So, yeah.
So have you read any Charles DeLint?
No, I've not read Charles DeLint. Is this a recommendation for me? Who's Charles DeLint?
Oh, he's good. He writes urban fantasy too.
I like urban fantasy.
Yeah, and he's written some. He's Canadian, so they're set in places like Toronto. And there's also a Native American element in many of them. So it's the same sort of story you were just talking about. It might be a little darker than Briggs.
Quite possibly.
Yeah, but it's still good stuff. Yeah. Okay, so I've read a bunch of urban fantasy. I've read. Do you read any steampunk? Are you into steampunk?
I have read. Damn, now I'm blanking out absolutely on the author and title and everything. It was something about. It was a story included in the anthology Cheese. Sorry, what's it called? Three Slices. which is a book of a collected book of 3 stories based around the idea of telling the future via cheese making.
Okay.
Which I got because one of the stories is part of a different series I was reading, but I also ended up reading the other 2, and it's just quite interesting seeing how these 3 different authors managed this one as somewhat strange concept. And anyway, one of the stories is, I kind of call it steampunk maybe. It was set in a carnival. Anyway, done. It's the second of the stories in 3 slices, and I can't remember the author or title, and so that's not much good, is it? Okay, let's just say I don't read steampunk. That's probably simpler.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. One author I really like is Gail Carriger. Have you heard of her?
No, not Gail Carriger.
Oh man, we're just sort of out of sync with one another. So good. I should get your recommendations, and you can have mine. Gail Carriger writes this interesting stuff. They're like Regency novels with werewolves and vampires and zeppelins or blimps, and it's all very interesting. Very different sorts of stuff. Her heroine, the main heroine in one of these series is a woman who basically nullifies magic. She's got this. That's her power. Is you can't do magic around her.
Yes, I've seen that theme in the Scarlet Bernard series, and again, I'm blanking out on the author. Sorry, I just can't for the life of me think of the author's name. But the Scarlet Bernard series, and there is another spin-off series from that with the different main character. Right, I think my daughter has got bored of all this discussion. No, she's just wandering off somewhere. She tells me to no, she hasn't got bored of it at all. She's just wandering off to do something.
Okay.
Decides to find something
more
else
exciting
to wave at the computer screen. So we shall await further developments. So urban fantasy, I find it depends very much on how it's dealt with. See, what I like with urban fantasy is this idea that there's a whole magic society within our society that have particular rules and customs and ways that they do things, and seeing how that's contrasted with the sort of ordinary day-to-day world that the rest of us know.
Right.
And that for me is what absolutely makes urban fantasy. It's not just drop a few vampires or werewolves down in our world. It's what you do with the society that they've made around it all, and what they actually do with the world building and the magic and everything. I'm going to mention another one, Benedict Jacker. Have you read Benedict Jacker's novels at all?
No, I have not heard of
Right,
that.
I will give you that as a recommendation.
Okay.
You were talking about novels set in Canada. These are set in London, so they're great to read if you want a London background, modern day London. And they're in fact, this was the first book review I actually did on my blog. It's about Benedict Jacker's work. Hang on 1 second, there's a noise going on. Is that you squeaking, Katie?
I don't like that.
Yes, it was. Sorry, strange noises are happening in the background.
It's okay.
My daughter being squeaky.
Yeah, kids
right, okay.
are worse than cats.
He says you're worse than a cat, Katie. For her, that will be a compliment, I think.
Oh, yes.
Katie, you're being a little bit distracting, small girl. Yeah, sorry, I was trying to tell you about Benedict Jacker. Okay, Katie is bringing over one of the 5 Nights at Freddy's figures. This one, I believe, is called Foxy. Is that Foxy? Right, okay, show them Foxy, if you're going to. So...
There we go, okay.
Never work with children or animals. Hello, did you want this headphone back, Katie, so you can hear what's going on? This magic series is... Katie, that joke doesn't work and you're not on screen to show people. Okay, yes, so in this magic society, the different magic users each have typically one kind of magic, and the protagonist is a diviner, which means he can see all of the sort of all of the things going to happen in the immediate future, all the different possibilities, and he can use his magic to choose among them. So, for example, it's great for avoiding assassination, which is good for our hero because for various reasons, a lot of people are trying to assassinate him at different times during the books, but he can spot these things coming. He always knows just when he's got to duck. There are all these sort of interesting implications, just really well worked out, of what can happen if you can see all of the immediate futures. Like, for example, one thing you can do with it in the books is crack passwords, because he can look into every possible future of him trying every different possible password, and one of them will stand out as different from the rest because that will be the only one which the password actually works. So it's easy for him to see what he does that leads to that future. So it's just all these different interesting things in terms of how he uses divination magic. And there's also this complicated past that he had where he used to work for a dark mage and got away, but for that reason he's absolutely persona non grata with the light mages, and there's all this background complicated politics he doesn't want to get involved in and gets dragged into, and they're just very, very readable, but really good, interesting world building. Lots of interesting stuff going on. So there you go. You can consider that a recommendation.
Good.
Right.
Okay.
So, right. Do you want to talk about anything that isn't fantasy books?
I'm talking to somebody from England. What do you think of Harry Potter?
Harry Potter. I would say Harry Potter started out brilliantly, very much got me hooked, and I just felt in the last couple of books, just, in fact, even pretty much from the end of the fifth book, to be honest, but the fifth book, I think she was still coasting on everything she'd done so far.
Yeah.
But really by the sixth book, there was this feeling of, I'm a bit disappointed here. I think she'd really better make this up a bit during the seventh book, and, I felt like there were good themes there that just got wasted, dropped. There is this whole idea that you could, from the second book, that you can, this wonderful idea that you could make choices, become who you wanted to be in life, and not just, not just be destined to go for wherever the sorting hat put you, or for wherever you were sort of supposed.
Yeah, you're kind of paralleling my thoughts on it, because we got into it when my kids were young, and they were really into it. And that was wonderful, is that the kids would just grab these books. We had to get them the instant they came out, and they would read them. And I know I read the first couple to my kids, but then they got old enough to read them by themselves. And that's how I felt about it. Is I thought this is a pretty good series. I'm enjoying this. And then each book started to sound like the previous book.
Right, she's decided to provide a display for illustrative purposes, and now being modelled by the stewardess on the right is right. Okay, she's grabbing the headphone back from me. You're joining back in the conversation, Katie Boo. Katie's not really a Harry Potter fan. She never really got into it. Maybe you'd like to read them someday, Boo.
Yeah, my kids were a little older when they got into it, so
that's true. Katie's
they're kind of intimidating because they're so thick, but once they get hooked, they're really into it. So I thought they were great that way. But yeah, I kind of gave up around the fifth book too, and just lost interest, unfortunately.
I read them through to the end, but just there is a sense of this really could have been better and should have been better. So there you go.
Well, I think there's this problem that when you're really successful in this kind of genre writing, there's always this pressure to do exactly the same thing that made you popular. And the fans are sitting there, and if she made a radical break from it, there would have been people very upset with.
But I mean, she actually has made that radical break, because she's now writing thrillers under another name, which, fair play to her. I read the first one not knowing which was her, and I wouldn't have spotted it. It wouldn't have occurred to me at all. So I was just very impressed that she made the shift in style in that way.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, she's clearly a good writer, and so I would hate to see her
very imaginative. So, but so anyway, the Harry Potter story did have a great many good things about it, and it's sad that ultimately disappointed, but there's still so much good stuff there to read and go back and enjoy.
Right. Yeah, another author I'm really into right now is Shauna McGuire. Have you heard of her?
She did the album with Wicked Girls on it, didn't she? Wicked Girls
Oh
Saving
yes,
Ourselves.
she's also a
I
musician, right?
I've downloaded one of her books, which I haven't read yet, but I figured after listening to that song, which is the most awesome song, anyone who hasn't already got Wicked Girls Saving Ourselves, go out and find it on YouTube and listen to it immediately. There you go. That's my public service announcement for the day. Um, anyway, yes, I figured after hearing how good her music is, I really ought to give her books a try. But I haven't got round to reading it yet. But
Yeah.
it's one of many, many that I have lined up on my Kindle waiting to be read. So yes, I definitely look forward
Yeah,
to that.
one of the nice things about her books is she's got a very strong biological focus. So
And
she makes,
that's your field of interest.
yes. So like for instance, I can't remember the title of it now. She's got an awesome mermaid story where they find mermaids, real mermaids, and they're not exactly friendly. and it gets a little grisly in places, but I thought it was an excellent twist on it. And it made biological sense what she was describing as well. So, they were not half human, half fish people. They were their own species, and they weren't very nice, but very good. And then also recently, I've just started her Every Heart a Doorway series, which just won a Nebula Award. Um, if you're into high fantasy, it's kind of a, how to describe it. It's about these young people who have gone through portals to other worlds like Narnia or Alice and Wonderland, and then come back. And now they're totally unsuited for civilized life. Did I just lose you? I think I just lost her. Uh-oh. We'll see. Maybe Katie pulled the plug on something. I'll give her a moment to get back. Okay, I'm going to answer some of the live chat questions while I'm reading.
Hello, sorry, are you there?
Yes, I am. What
Hi,
happened?
I'm sorry. For some reason, the thing just completely froze up. And interestingly, that's exactly what happened when I was on the Hangout a few hours earlier. I don't know what it looked like from your point of view, whether I disappeared from, I guess I must have disappeared from that one or
Yes,
something.
you just went poof, you're gone.
Yes.
It's okay.
Yeah, so anyway, whole thing froze up. Then my whole computer froze up. I could not get a thing to work, and I just ended up having to hit the off button and restart the whole thing. And so I don't know why that happens about
Okay.
half an hour into Hangouts. Any technical advice there or anything? Any insight?
Kick it. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't kick it. That's...
I didn't hear.
He said I should kick it.
Well, but that's fine. So we're at our half-hour mark. This is probably a good place to stop. It's been
pretty much.
It's been fun talking to you.
No.
It's been lovely talking to you. I'm sorry that it was slightly distracting due to a
That's
certain
okay.
Yeah.
Distraction's good.
Yes, Mr.
Light
Unicorn.
entertainment. Yeah.
Naughty
Okay,
Mr.
and so we'll tell everybody to go read The Geeky Humanist.
Excellent.
Okay.
Yes, I will try and get some more posts up there.
All right. Well, it's been fun.
Unicorn.
Okay, right.
Yes. You
Yeah,
better go take care of her. All right. Talk to
I
you
better
later.
put her to bed. It's 10:30 in the evening here.
Oh.
Okay, right.
What's she doing up past her bedtime?
This pretty much is her bedtime. She's a chronic insomniac, so yeah, I pretty much had to plan around her being on the hangout, I'm afraid. Okay, well, lovely to speak to you, and
Yep. We'll do it again sometime.
okay, have a good afternoon. Bye bye. See
Bye.
you.